I suspect that on most people's lists of the top 5 consequential Christians of all time, St. Paul would be on that list. This extraordinary apologist of the Christian gospel, the Christian vision, the Christian perspective. A remarkable story of one who had devoted his life to the persecution of Christians, is converted, and then becomes one of its greatest advocates. Paul's story is a compelling story of how God is at work in our lives, God calling us to places we never thought we would be, God constantly calling us to renewal, to purge ourselves of resentment and gossip and anger, criticalness, to embrace the gospel of love, the gospel of care, the gospel that treasures each and every person. The greatest of the many letters in the estimation of many is the letter we're taking passages from this week, Paul's letter to the Romans, and it's unvarnished image of St. Paul. He's a firebrand, he's a poet, he's a advocate, he's the prophetic voice calling us to new ways of being. In the course of this letter, he even contradicts himself in chapters. It's just part of who he was as a person, so full of energy and spirit. And in this passage that we heard this morning, you know, one of the great virtues of the Jewish tradition was to be in the community of the righteous. And many assumed by the word righteous, they meant someone who closely lived out their life in the letter of the law, that they had a great possession of Jewish teaching, Jewish rituals, Jewish rites, and by just watching them in action, you couldn't help but say, this is a believer. And you know, Paul was a very educated Jew. He was very well versed on all of the teachings of the Torah. But in this passage today, he reminds us that the righteous are not those who just follow laws. Much more than that, the righteous live out the reality that God is at work in their life. And the rules and the regulations and the teachings are guideposts, but ultimately the righteous are not known by simply following rules and regulations. They bring God into the world by how they live, the values they hold, the choices that they make. And he calls us to embrace that reality today in this reading. How am I a vessel of God? I become a righteous person not because of the rules that I follow, but how I am an instrument of God's mercy and love. Just think about the relationships in your life. What relationships are in tension? Why are they in tension? Sometimes it says a lot more about us than it says about the person that we're angry at, or that we're hypercritical of, or that we have sort of marginalized in our life because they make us uncomfortable, or because they cause us to rethink some of the things that we feel are so important. Paul was that kind of a person. He was not someone that you would just sit idly by as he was talking. He would evoke strong passions, which is why his letters are treasured, why his teachings continue to shape the mission of the church, why his vision, his powerful commitment to the teachings and life of Christ continue to energize the church, because he was really someone who was constantly trying to connect what's happening in your life with the teachings of Jesus. And that as you enter that dialogue, Jesus is working in your life. Jesus is calling you to be a more merciful and loving person, to leave the anger, resentments, evil, whatever it is behind, so we can move forward, redeemed and purified by the love and mercy of Jesus Christ.
Hello, OLPH. My name is Mary Lynn Januszewski, and I'm the Director of Finance and Operations at Our Lady of Perpetual Help Parish in Glenview, Illinois. And this message comes to you with heartfelt gratitude and thanks for your ongoing generosity and support of OLPH Parish. This overwhelming generosity allows us to continue to serve and to minister to the parish community in so many different ways. So thank you, OLPH, for all you do. You are much appreciated.